Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Sultanate expresses its condolences and sympathy towards Turkey on the victims of the wildfires. Oman is committed to its international obligations to combat money laundering and lower the potential risks associated with suspicious financial transactions. The commercial operation of the Liwa Plastics Industries Complex will start in the third quarter of the current year. And the Ministry of Health announces that the second dose of COVID-19 vaccination for those who completed 10 weeks since the date of the first dose starting tomorrow, Sunday. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency Patrice Talon, President of the Republic of Benin, on his country's National Day. The Sultanate, in a statement released by the Foreign Ministry, expressed its condolences and sympathy to the Turkish government, people, and the families of the victims of the wildfires witnessed in various areas in Turkey, which resulted in several deaths and injuries. It also wished a speedy recovery for the injured. In line with the international treaties and conventions to combat money laundering and financing of terrorism, the Sultanate of Oman has committed itself towards its international obligations to address this form of transitional crimes that respect no physical borders. The Sultanate is geared to lower potential risks associated with suspicious financial transactions and has placed financial controls and monitoring systems to filter normal financial transactions from other transactions that raise red flags. In 2020, the National Center for Financial Information addressed 682 with an increase by 26% compared to the figure in the year 2019. The National Center received 410 reports from the banking sector in 2020. The total number of requests from the concerned authorities reached 190 requests reporting suspicious financial transactions in 2019 and 2020. The reports and the analysis of money flow resulted in the discovery of 428 suspects and required the analysis of 1,309 bank accounts belonging to the suspects and other organizations and individuals of interest. After completing the analysis, the reports of suspicious transaction reports are filed to a specialized division in the public prosecution responsible for handling money laundering charges. Public prosecution conducts its investigation based on the received reports and interrogates the suspects who have the chance to explain the financial transactions before being committed to court. In 2021, the Omani courts issued their rulings over money laundering charges, convicting a number of people on charges for money laundering. The Sultanate is committed to international instruments. OQ Group announced that the commercial operation of the Liwa Plastics Industries Complex will start in the third quarter of the current year. The domestic value added for the project since its start reached 1.5 billion Omani riyals. The mega project will enable the country for the first time to produce polyethylene, which is a key raw material in plastics industries. OQ Group investments extend to other projects as well as such as Sohar Refinery, polypropylene plants, and Sohar Port, in which the group invested directly 4,884 million Omani riyals. The Ministry of Health will start tomorrow, Sunday, giving the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine for those who have completed 10 weeks since the date of the first dose from the targeted category within the National Immunization Campaign. The ministry stressed on the necessity to book earlier appointments before heading to the immunization centers in various governorates of the Sultanate to ensure a safe and easy vaccination process while adhering to the precautionary measures. Meanwhile, the ministry represented in the Directorate General of Health Services and the Governorate of Muscat continues the vaccination of the targeted categories from 18 years and above in Oman Convention and Exhibition Center. In implementation with the royal directives of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, to accelerate the recruitment process for the nationals, and in continuation with the national efforts for the Sultan's armed forces to give the opportunity to the nationals to join the army, the Royal Air Force of Oman, in coordination with the Ministry of Labor, received a new batch of recruits after they passed all tests. The new recruits will undergo a military training which will include various components such as physical fitness, marksmanship, artillery and awareness programs. Still to come on News Bulletin. Rains with varied intensity caused some wadis and their tributaries to overflow in the wilaya of Rostaq. Welcome back. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said yesterday that more than 70 wildfires have broken out across 17 provinces on Turkey's Aegean and Mediterranean coast this week, and 14 were still ongoing. He said planes from Russia and Ukraine were helping battle the flames and that Azerbaijan would also send ambulance plane. The death toll from wildfires on Turkey's southern coast has risen to 4, and firefighters were battling blazes for the third day after the evacuation of dozens of villages and some hotels. Erdogan said that at least 5 planes, 45 helicopter drones, and more than 1,000 vehicles were involved in the firefighting efforts at 1,140 sites. 2 UN agencies are warning that hunger is expected to rise in 23 global hotspots in the next 3 months, with the highest alerts for a catastrophic situation in Ethiopia's battled Tigray region, southern Madagascar, Yemen, South Sudan, and northern Nigeria. The Food and Agriculture Organization and World Food Programme said in yesterday's report that between August and November, acute food insecurity is likely to further deteriorate, especially in Ethiopia, where the number of people facing starvation and death is expected to rise to 401,000, the highest number since 2011 Somalia famine, if aid doesn't provide it quickly. A provincial official said separate traffic accidents in eastern Afghanistan left at least 20 people dead and 18 others injured. Both accidents took place in Laghman province on the main highway linking the Afghan capital of Kabul and eastern Nangarhar province. The official said 12 people were killed and 8 others injured this morning when 2 vehicles collided in the district of Garkai. Late last night, in some area, another 8 people were killed and 10 others injured when a minibus collided with a car on the highway. Children were among those killed and injured. U.S. President Joe Biden yesterday said renewed restrictions due to the surge of COVID-19 are likely. As he left the White House for a week in Camp David, the president struck a note of optimism, saying the bright spot is more Americans are getting vaccinated. Almost 1 million people got vaccinated, about 500,000 of those people for the first time or for the second shot. The comments follow scientific research released yesterday that concluded vaccinated people who got so-called breakthrough infections carried about the same amount of the coronavirus as those who didn't get the shots. The findings were key in this week's decision by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to recommend that vaccinated people return to wearing masks indoors in parts of the U.S. where the Delta variant is fueling infection surges. Newly reported COVID-19 cases in Olympic host city Tokyo surged to a record high of 4,058 today, exceeding 4,000 for the first time and overshadowing the Games. The new record comes a day after Japan decided to extend states of emergency to 3 prefectures near the Olympic host Tokyo and the western prefecture of Osaka to the end of August. Amid intensifying concerns, Tokyo Olympics organizers said today they had revoked accreditation of a Games-related person or people for leaving the athletes' villages for sightseeing, a violation of measures imposed to hold the Olympics safely amid the pandemic. This is the first time accreditation has been revoked since the start of the Tokyo Olympics on July 23rd. Without it, one cannot enter any Olympic facilities. China's National Health Commission spokesman paid a press briefing today that Chinese mainland has reported 328 COVID-19 cases in July, mainly due to the Delta mutant spreading with average daily increase of 27 imported cases. Mifeng said that the global pandemic is still ravaging the world and there is rising pressure of preventing imported cases while calling for all-out preventive and control efforts to contain the rising trend of infections. Recently, the local cluster cases triggered by the imported cases have been found in several provinces. Mi stressed that as the Delta mutant strain has a high viral load and it spreads in a fast speed with strong spreading ability, the prevention and control measures should be done in an immediate, strict manner that covering a wider range close contacts. China could quit UK nuclear projects if role threatened after efforts to remove the state-owned CGN from Sizewell C, said to leave Hinkley Point and Bradwell exposed. More details in the following report.
China called on the UK to provide an open and fair environment for Chinese companies after the UK reportedly considered blocking on Chinese companies' participation in the country's power projects. The British government was exploring ways to block the state-owned China General Nuclear, CGN, from the future projects in the UK. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman stressed on the importance of the trade relations between China and the United Kingdom.
中英互为重要的贸易投资伙伴。
China and the UK are important trade and investment partners, and it is in the interest of both sides to carry out practical cooperation on the principle of mutual benefit and win-win cooperation. The British side should effectively provide an open, fair and non-discriminatory business environment for Chinese enterprises.
非歧视的营商环境。
The move could remove CGN from the consortium proposal of building Sizewell C nuclear power station in Suffolk, as well as the new project in Bradwell-on-Sea in Essex. It would also add to the fraying ties between Britain and China, already strained by the UK efforts to address human rights abuse and widen residency rights for people from Hong Kong.
We continue to still like Chinese equities, on a global basis, trading at about 11 times. They're still the cheapest. And look, the majority of workers, you're seeing this shift from industrial to consumption in China. And while this happens, most of the employees in China actually work for, basically public companies.
China and the UK are important trade and investment partners, and it would be in the interest of both countries to cooperate. But experts warn that China could quit UK nuclear projects if its role is threatened. Da'at Matar, Oman TV, London.
A number of villages in the wilaya of Rustaq witnessed rains with varied intensity that led a number of wadis and their tributaries to overflow. The following are footage of some overflowing wadis in the wilaya. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we enter tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate expresses its condolences and sympathy towards Turkey on the victims of the wildfires. Oman is committed to its international obligations to combat money laundering and lower the potential risks associated with suspicious financial transactions. The commercial operation for the Loa Plastics Industries Complex will start in the third quarter of the current year. And the Ministry of Health announces that the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccination for those who completed 10 weeks since the date of the first dose starting tomorrow, Sunday. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, is good night and stay safe.